Early on, as you said, RJ, it was 0 for 3. Oh, my gosh. The carryover taking place from the Commanders game, and then the Cowboys settle down as Dak Prescott finds Dalton Schultz, who had a humongous game, and I just felt like we could breathe a little bit after that, even though Maher missed the extra point.
Which one?
The one to make it 7-0 when it was 6-0. But Michael Gallup came up big on that drive. Yesterday, you said, where's Gallup going to be? Is Gallup going to be there? And Michael Gallup, he comes up with big catches. He's not going to have 11. He's not going to have 9 catches. He's going to have 4 for 63. He's going to have those huge plays. He was big on that drive, and Dalton Schultz ends up in the end zone to finally put the Cowboys up.
Yeah, and Schultz had a really nice day. I mean, just about everybody on offense, for the most part, on offense had a really good evening. And it starts with the quarterback. Nobody on that team can have a good day on offense without the quarterback being what he was. He was as good as it gets. And for Schultz to have that kind of game, and for him to come up with those kind of plays, and he made big plays, and he had a ton of catches on the night. He had a ton of catches. And the thing I loved about this was one of those games where receivers get like 6-7 targets in one catch. I mean, everyone who got targets was getting 7 of 8, 4 of 5, 3 of 4. I mean, they were on target throws. And like you mentioned, he started off 0 of 3, and all 3 hit the receivers somewhere in the hands. Now, it doesn't mean they were easy catches, but they were in his hands. And he could have had even a better night.
Dalton Schultz didn't want to talk afterwards. I saw Newey Scruggs tweet.
No, he didn't, which was a little interesting.
We can get Mrs. Schultz on. She's a Tolo.
She is a Tolo. I don't know what that was. I guess he must be frustrated with the way we were talking about the team after Washington or something. It's all speculative. I don't know, but he turned down several people who wanted to talk to him after the game, just shutting it down.
Schultz then scores a second one, becoming the first tight end in team history with multiple receiving touchdowns in a postseason game. He had a catch on a gorgeous throw from Dak that Schultz kind of bobbled a little bit on the sideline. So that early combination, Dak to Dalton, which, remember, we thought of as that was Dak's safety net for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That was his safety net, and he came up big last night.
Yeah, Schultz was tremendous last night. The connection that the two of them had, Dak and Dalton, it's so obvious. Like if you're somebody who is just a weirdo like me and, who feels like going back and watching like the Cincinnati game or something from earlier this year, just watch how little chemistry there is between Cooper Rush and Dalton Schultz. Like it's non-existent. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as Dak gets back in the lineup, it's clicking. You can see why he trusts Dalton Schultz so much. There's just a reliability there. And, man, he really found his comfort on that drive because it was not just 0 for 3. It was 0 for 3, and then the fourth drop back, nobody was open, and he got sacked to end a drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the fourth throw damn near sailed out of bounds except for Michael Gallup jumping up and catching it. And it felt like these first 5 dropbacks are going really bad.
Yeah, and Gallup didn't even high point that. I mean, he cut that on the way down. It was like, everything was off on that one. The throw was bad. He missed time to jump.
It was very awkward. Now, have you guys...
They had 6 plays to start, 1 yard gained. 6 plays, 1 yard gained. It was a Tony Pollard run.
Have you guys checked the QBR numbers for Dak?
But I'm getting... I have it for Dak, but I'm getting ready to write down all the QBRs for the wild card weekend and send them to a certain somebody.
So you have seen Dak's number.
96.5.
All right, put that in context.
It means you will win 96.5% of the games that you play with that game. That was incredible. I had to look up the highest single game QBR of all time. Do you know who it was?
Tony Romo.
No.
Oh.
Charlie Batch.
No.
Yeah, 99.9.
Oh, yeah, but didn't he he attempted like 14 passes or something.
He threw for like 186 yards, but he ran a very weird game.
Yeah.
Because QBR also takes into account like time of game and when the throws are. So like they'll weight fourth quarter throws in a close game a little bit higher.
And for the first
what a day.
And for the first time in 8 games, clean football. No turnovers. Dak, is there a little sense of relief to finally get that stat off your back?
I've had confidence all along. and some of them have been aggression. Last week was just a credit to the defense, as I told y'all, got jumped it. But yeah, I mean, sure. I'm sure it makes other people feel better. Yeah, it's good. It's good to finish the game without one. But I had no doubt that we're going to have a game like this, and that we could be clean with the ball, and I could be clean with the ball, obviously.
Dak's a politician, and so he can sit there and say, "Sure, I'm sure it makes other people feel better." Trust me, that was a relief to him. Or not necessarily relief.
The game or no turnovers?
The fact that he didn't turn the ball over. I think it was a confidence boost, because we're talking about 2 starts he's had this year where he didn't throw an interception.
Well, there wasn't even really any kind of plays that were even close.
Right.
You know, it was like the receivers were open for one, but
and the
line was giving him all kinds of time. And like, you know, there was not even a play that was remotely close to that I could think of that was even remotely close to getting picked off.
So I know you were watching Choppy along with me, all of the Dak breakdowns in the pregame coverage. I can't stand pregame coverage anymore. I
agree.
Just a bunch of fluff pieces where Amazon does not show our faces when they come in studio. But
unless we're doing the pregame. Then I'll listen to it. But if we're not.
But I thought there were some really good breakdowns. Like Steve Young was breaking at his tape. Eli, you had Peyton on the Tom Brady side.
Orlovsky.
And everyone's just talking about rhythm, right? When Dak Prescott drops back and it's bam, 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 gone. 1, 2, 3, out. Like, you can see his rhythm in the games when he's on. And that's what he looked like in the opener last year against Tampa. When he hesitates, when there's a hitch, when there's a pump, when there's a delay, it feels like it's going to be an off night. And last night, just 1, 2, 3, out. You could see it in his body language. You know, I know it gets dangerous reading body language like that, but he was in total. Every time he dropped back, when he got in rhythm, you felt like it was going to be a big gain, and it was.
Derek Klassen, who does a lot of quarterback study and quarterback work for Football Outsiders, New York Times, Bleacher Report, stuff like that, he had a tweet last night that I thought nailed it, which is, we of course get frustrated with some of the inconsistencies at times when Dak plays, but as Derek wrote last night, he said, not many quarterbacks play a prettier game when they're in the zone than Dak Prescott. The ball just magnetizes to the right player in the right spot over and over. And that's the thing. When it's clicking for Dak, you genuinely look at it and go, he can match up against any other quarterback in the NFL. The problem obviously is just, you don't know sometimes what it's going to look like.
No, you don't know. I mean, and there are guys that have stronger arms or are faster or have better footwork. But yeah, when he's on time, and really when just about any quarterback in the league is on time with everything, I mean, they look good. And the difference between starters and backups is the starters can do it every day, and the backups can do it every month.
This is by far, it's not just like that's the best game he's ever played of his career. Like, this is, to this point of his career.
Do you think it's his best game?
Close. He played really well against the Giants opening night a couple years ago, where he had a perfect passer rating and he was just dropping it in the bucket.
The Eagles game was special.
It was great. What this is, though, is this is his signature game.
Yes.
Like, if you look at over his entire 7-year career, when Nick Wright last week is laughing, going, what's DeMar DeRozan's legacy? That's the same question. Okay, like, these are like legacy building type of games.
Yes.
You go into Tampa with your organization that hasn't won a road playoff game in 30 years. You dominate the football field.
And you maybe end Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Tom Brady? 877-881-1053, truckwreck.com, text line. Prescott joins Aikman and Roger, only Cowboy quarterbacks with 4 touchdown passes in a playoff game. Troy did it against the Bills in Super Bowl 27. Roger did it in the 75 championship game. Dak is the second player with 300 passing yards, 4 touchdown passes, and 0 interceptions, along with a rushing touchdown in a playoff game. He's the second one in postseason history. Matt Ryan was the other one to do it. And what I also loved last night was his legs.
Oh, yeah.
I love Dak's legs.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been trying to figure this out since his injury. Does Jerry not want him to run? McCarthy last week said, I've never told him not to run. And Dak's willingness to run, his instinct for it, and Kellen Moore setting him up for success with that, it felt perfect. There's nothing that rips your heart out more when the quarterback has all his receivers covered. You got him. Here it is, 3rd and 6. They're gonna punt it back to you. And the Jalen Hurts or the Kyler Murray or the Russell Wilson back in the day rips your heart out by just Josh Allen, by breaking the pocket and going to run for that first down. And it feels like that is finally back for Dak Prescott. And last night, I just felt like every single running situation for him was absolutely perfect with his decision-making and the instincts. He only ended up with 7 for 24 yards. You don't have to have a lot of yards. It's the moment. It is the elusiveness. When he faded left for the touchdown pass, was that to Lamb?
That was to Schultz, the one where he was going to the sideline, looked like he was going to run, came back to the side. That was the best play he had of the night.
They ran a QB option with him in the red zone.
I mean, that's a play. That's a classic play. You'll see that run every so often.
I honestly didn't know if this fast side of his game would ever come back. I didn't know whether he would want to do it. I didn't know whether they would want him to do it. I didn't know if he would have the physical ability, as he looked like he was lumbering over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
I kept calling him Jalen Prescott with Jalen Smith trying to run around.
Or Ezekiel Prescott.
Or there you go.
Or Ezekiel Prescott. I didn't know if this would ever return, but man, it did last night, Choppy.
It did. And if I was Dak, I was like, I don't care if they want me to run or not. If I have to run to get a first down and be a better quarterback, I'm going to do that. But maybe it's just they don't want him to run during the regular season and they'll let him run in the postseason.
He's definitely ratcheted up the mobility in the last 6 weeks, though. I feel like he's running more lately, and I think that's because he spoke about that, I think, recently, where he was kind of talking about, it reached a point where it's like I've just gotta play my game. I can't overthink it. But he's that fake last night on the touchdown. I like the whole stadium thought Zeke had the ball.
So here's his rush attempts the last few games. Houston 6 carries for 23, Jacksonville 5 for 20, Philly 6 for 41, 3 for 11 against Tennessee, 6 for 16 against Washington, and then of course last night.
How about the touchdown pass to Gallup? It goes through the defender's hands. They rule that they can't overturn Gallup's feet in the back of the end zone.
He was not the first one to touch it. He reestablished position in the field, and since it went into and out of the hands of the DB,
that's the closest Dak came to an interception.
Yes,
was that one?
Yeah, you're right. And that was good. I mean, look, that was a perfectly placed throw. I mean, obviously, perfect would have been maybe another 4 inches to the left, so he wouldn't have gotten his hands on it. But I mean, that was almost a really nice play by the DB.
If it's 4 inches to the left, it's incomplete.
That's right,
because nobody would have touched it, and Gallup would have stepped out of bounds.
That's
how much everything was working in their favor last night.